Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Michelle Fondin Author vlog. This is episode number 37, and I am going to talk about what coaching 1,000 Twin Flames taught me about self-love. Now remember, this is my personal journey. I'm not dictating to you how you need to live your twin flame or self-love journey or love journey in general. This video is going to be about how I got here now, how I got to this juncture, and how I never in a million years thought I'd be writing a book about self-love. But I didn't only write one book, I wrote two at the same time. So I am here to talk about that. What did I do to get here to this point? And I also want to say something. This is a proof copy. Do you see the band that now Amazon puts through the proof copy? Which is kind of whack because you can't really see the whole cover. And even on the back, you kind of can't see all the writing. And that's the whole point and purpose of a proof copy, is to be able to see exactly how it would look in print. But here, it's covered part of the writing. I don't even know if the writing is right. I can't even read the writing. But the interior is hunky-dory fine, so you can see my new book. Do you see how thick that is? That's a thick book. I think this is well, besides Enlightened Medicine, Your Power to Get Well Now, which is chock full of references, this is the longest book I've ever written. Ever. 292 pages. You can pre-order it now on my website. The workbook proof is not yet here. That's 140 pages. You can pre-order all the above on my website. And I want to show you a special gift. And this is not like I'm doing a big promotion to pump my book right now. This is more, I want to talk about my journey, but this is the Michelle Fondin Author vlog. So I talk about what is currently going on. And I just got this proof. Just got it. So I am here with my pals. And guess what? My favorite pal, you see Grogu here, my favorite pal that I talk about in every vlog, not only the Michelle Fondin Author vlogs, but in the Twin Flame vlogs as well. My favorite pal, Grogu. So excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming on May 22nd. I'm here with Gudetama, who is also another one of my pals. I am here with my writers. Tumblr with my Ticino, Dandelion Caramel Nut Tea. I need the tea for my voice today because I haven't yet talked today, really. And I tend to get raspy if I haven't warmed up my vocal cords, so the tea is awesome for that. So before we begin the story of how I got here after coaching 1,000 Twin Flames, really, I want to show you the free gift. And you can also buy this as a standalone because it's awesome. This is a poster. Do you see how big that is? It's 11 inches by 17 inches. I think when I ordered it initially, I really didn't have any conception of what 17-inch long as far as a poster goes. It's pretty darn big, but it's laminated on both sides, which makes it great for sticking on walls or mirrors. This is the 14 Traits of Unconditional Self-Love from my book. And if you pre-order the package, which is the book, the workbook, you get the poster for free. Now this poster is also standalone and I sell it for $24.99 because it's not inexpensive to produce these in smaller quantities. So you get the poster, but I wanted to show you the poster because it's lovely. This is a great reminder of self-love. And I love this. It's so shiny. It's so nice. It's actually semi-gloss, so if you have it up on a wall or a mirror, it's not going to be washed out by light. But that is my gift to you if you pre-order the author-signed copies. And the book release, again, is May 20th of 2026. All right, guys, let's talk about my twin flame journey leading up into my self-love journey. If you're new to this channel, please excuse me when I talk about this story. If you're either new to the twin flame journey or not at all, even remotely on a twin flame journey, This could resonate because I'm going to talk about a spiritual awakening and what was going on with me at the same time. So back in 2018, I met a twin flame, my twin flame, and I embarked upon yet another spiritual awakening. This was probably spiritual awakening number 4 or 5 in my lifetime. This one was super intense, as most of you know who've been on the twin flame journey. You know how crazy intense it can be. Now, I am not discounting the twin flame journey aspect of this. I wrote 2 books on the twin flame journey. And I love those books, and those books are valid. They're great books. It's wonderful material to move through your twin flame journey. Now, when I started producing videos on this YouTube channel in 2019, it was February. I remember the exact day and time. It was February 2nd of 2019 when I produced my first twin flame video. Now, the 14 signs came about a week later. I believe it was about February 8th of 2019. And I even remember that time because I never talked about twin flames on my YouTube channel before. I had had a YouTube channel since 2011. I had been putting content on YouTube pretty religiously from 2014 forward when I first published The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda. But until February of 2019, I really didn't say anything about twin flames, even though I had been on the twin flame journey for about 6 months. Now, this is really important that you understand this, and it'll lead me to my self-love journey. I really didn't produce the twin flame material in February of 2019 to get views. I didn't produce it to write a book. I didn't produce those videos for any other reason than my own personal journey. That's why I started it, because I figured I'm going through these things. I wonder if anyone else is also going through these things. And so for the first year or so of producing twin flame content, I was just piggybacking on my personal development, on my personal journey on the twin flame journey. Now, of course, I wrote the book, Twin Flame Romance, The Journey to Unconditional Love, that I published in the fall of 2019. I think it was September 7th or September 8th of 2019. And the reason I wrote that book was because I had begun coaching twin flames probably a couple months after those initial videos. Now, the reason for that is because I was already doing life coaching, and I was already doing tarot readings for clients. Now, I wasn't doing them over Zoom or over Skype. I think it was even Skype at the time. I think Zoom was really in its infancy at that time. But I was already doing life coaching for clients, and I was already doing tarot readings for clients. So it wasn't like I was like inventing the wheel. I was already doing that stuff. And when I wrote the book, it seemed like the natural progression that came out of my own twin flame journey, and also from coaching twin flames, because I began to hear stories that were very similar to my own, but from people all around the world who were from different cultures, who spoke different languages, who had different backgrounds, upbringings, religious persuasions, different ages. And I was astonished through coaching all of these clients that came to me through YouTube, through my videos. But I was astonished at how so many people with so many various backgrounds, demographics could have the same stories. That is what blew me away. And that is also why I wrote Twin Flame Romance, because I felt if I am doing videos based on my own personal experience on the twin flame journey, and if I'm hearing all of these stories of all of these twin flames that I don't even know, I don't know these people, They probably didn't know me except through the 14 signs video, but their stories were the same. I mean, in different variations, of course, but similar. And so that's when I came to the conclusion that there are similar stages we all go through. There are similar signs. There are similar happenings that happen on this trajectory called the twin flame journey, which really ignites this massive, massive spiritual awakening. So as I was moving through my own personal development on this twin flame journey, and of course I was going through it and doing these things, but as the years passed, especially I want to say between 2020 and 2020, at the end of 2022, I was going through some massive changes, massive personal changes. A lot of things were happening during those years. Now, I know 2020 through 2022 was a big wake-up call for so many people. It wasn't just me. But I feel like going through a massive spiritual awakening and my twin flame journey, and some of you know who've been following my channel that I changed states. I moved all the way across the country to California in 2018 and then met my twin flame 6 weeks later. So that really ignited this crazy amount of changes within me. So as I was going through all these changes between especially 2020 to 2022, I was also still coaching twin flames and hearing their stories and understanding the trajectory that they were going through. Now, even as a life coach, my whole point and purpose to doing coaching is to help people move beyond their limiting beliefs, to help their health and wellness on all levels, body, mind, emotions, soul, spirit, and integrating into the wholeness of who they are. And as 2022 was wrapping up, moving into 2023, I was feeling uneasy about where this path was going. Now, the twin flame path, yes. The spiritual path, yes. In myself, I saw major changes. I saw that I wasn't willing, by about 2023, that I wasn't willing to accept breadcrumbs from someone who really took little interest in my life. And I felt that I needed to start focusing on myself, something that I had resisted. Now, I had done bits and pieces, and I will certainly sprinkle in stories as I talk about the self-love journey, but I hadn't really looked at myself in earnest. And the whole reason why that transition began to take place was because by that time, I had been coaching twin flames for about 4 years. Now, the issue with that for me personally is that as a coach, I want to be effective. I want to help people. I don't want to enable people. And I want to be someone who empowers others, and I don't want to be a crutch. I've never been that way. Whether it was in my yoga studio, teaching meditation, doing Ayurvedic lifestyle consultations, the point and purpose to my coaching was always to empower my clients to do better, to be better, to take the reins of their own life. And what I began seeing more and more and more and more was that on the twin flame journey, I was finding that many people were becoming disabled. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean disabled in a clinical sense. I mean disabled in the sense that they were placing their entire focus of their twin flame journey on the other person. So everything that they did, that they said, everything that they were being, everything that they were feeling was based on external forces. They were basing it on this other person. Now, they may have also been basing it on the signs, the synchronicities, maybe angel messages, but the focus was completely exterior focused. Now, every time I would attempt as a coach to bring it back to the person, I would get a lot of resistance. Now, in the beginning, I could understand it because I was also experiencing a lot of resistance myself. I was hanging on to every last word or text or phone call that my twin flame was bestowing upon me as a gift. I was the one doing that as well. However, I began to realize that waiting for those external things was diminishing my self-worth, and it began to sit very uneasy with me. And so as I'm coaching others, as I'm coaching all these clients over the years and noticing that a lot of them were staying stuck in this, what are they doing? Who are they dating? Who are they with? Are they going to break up with so-and-so? Are they going to end their marriage? Are they going to do this? Are they going to contact me? Which an annual check-in is great. Maybe a twice a year check-in is great. Maybe even a quarterly check-in is okay. But when you're hanging your life on someone else and their behavior, that's when you're completely disempowered, and that's not showing your self-love. So as I was moving through my twin flame journey, and I began to realize this, that I'm not loving myself at 100% completely if I am attaching myself to my own twin flame journey and basing my self-worth on whether or not this person changes. Because I really felt that this person was an integral part to my soul's mission. Now, it's still very well maybe, and I believe what he showed me was this pathway to self-love. Without that experience, I would have never found this pathway, I believe, because of the strong connection that we share. I began to get uneasy with enabling, I guess, is a very, I'm going to use that loosely, right? I wouldn't say that's exactly what was going on, but let's use the term very loosely, that I felt like I was enabling my clients to stay in this space of like not loving themselves. And it was really bothering me because the more I was moving toward loving myself unconditionally, the less I felt I was helping. I was like, I can't keep condoning these patterns that you're staying in because I can see clearly that you're not loving yourself. So that is what started this work for me. It was out of frustration of coaching many people who were electing to stay outwardly focused and who were shrinking back from working on themselves and overcoming their own wounds, overcoming low self-esteem, low self-worth, seeking approval from the outside, trying the best way that they could to get their twin flame to love them, or maybe somebody else to love them as well. And I was like, it needs to change. Like, now you can't force people to change. There's no way. You can't even suggest that people might change. But you can show through example. And so for me, I really came to this point at which I was like, I think I need to talk about self-love, and not in a way that is pop culture superficial that a lot of people equate self-love to today, right? Part of self-love is self-care. Part of self-love is being confident, but it goes so much deeper than that. It really expands to every single area of your life. And as I was working through this for myself, and as I was writing this book, starting in 2024 is when I started this book. As I was writing this book and working through my own self-love journey. Now, it's always a journey, right? Just like the twin flame journey. It's always a journey. It's not like you're a done deal. It's not like you're, and in fact, one of the sections in my book is called "You Are Not a Finished Product." That's one of the sections in my book. You are not a finished product. So because you're not finished, it is a journey. It is a process. It's not like I am done learning how to love myself. I'm like so well ahead than I ever was in my entire life. I feel very different now as a person, completely different now that I love myself unconditionally. I don't allow people to treat me the way I allowed them to treat me in the past. I don't seek approval or validation in the way that I used to seek approval and validation. It's so profound that it affects every single aspect of your life. And if you realize that, or I hope to convey that to you, that once you realize that, once you really, really get that, you will make it your daily work to move through the process of loving yourself unconditionally, because it affects everything in your life. It affects your body. It affects your mind. It affects your motivation. It affects your relationships. It affects your work. It affects the way you raise children. It affects money. It affects everything in your life. It's insane to say that, and it's insane to believe that we are never taught this, that we are never taught to love ourselves unconditionally. In fact, we are really taught the polar opposite of that. Every major religion teaches us the polar opposite of that. That's how I got here. I got here out of hitting a roadblock, if you will. Like, I hit a roadblock in my teachings. I hit a roadblock with my clients because I believe if you awaken through a twin flame connection, or you awaken on the spiritual path in another way, shape, or form, the juncture always is going to lead you back to working toward unconditional self-love, because the spiritual journey can only take you so far, because you are working through things, and that is amazing. But if you don't really take a look at yourself, then none of that's going to work. You could do all the sound bath meditations you want. You could go to as many yoga classes as you want to go to. You could go to any church or synagogue or mosque or whatever. None of that's going to work for you. It's going to be a temporary Band-Aid fix. And it might be support material. That's really what I want to say. I'm not saying that it is invalid, but it'll only take you so far. And why did I realize this was so hard? The reason I found when I came to this roadblock, when I came to, God, I'm really not helping people. Like, twin flame journey is great. And I feel like, yes, you need to move through the stages of the twin flame journey. You absolutely need to, because if that's the way you awakened, that is what you were given as a gift. So you do need to move through those. But you need to also realize that where it takes you is the road back to yourself. Like, the end result is not about the other person. It never is. Whether you get married, and I'm not saying to a twin flame, to anybody, right? Whether you get married, whether you get your dream house, whether you get your dream job, your dream education, it's always going to take you back to you. Because then once you obtain those things, what are you going to do with it? If you have very low self-esteem, very low self-worth, those things will disappear. The things that you worked so hard to get are going to disappear. If you hate yourself, if you have self-loathing, anything that you work for will disintegrate, because you're not going to think that you're worth it. So you can keep working toward external goals, but if you don't have that unconditional self-love, you're going to encounter a lot of roadblocks. And so when I really grasped this firsthand, when I realized it for myself and started integrating these lessons on every single level, it was like a light bulb turned on for me, and that light bulb didn't turn off. It was like, I got it. Like, I have it now. I totally understand this. And it goes counter to every single thing we're taught. It goes counter to all the teachings, all the social paradigms, all the social conditioning. It's kind of crazy, to be honest with you, that very few people got this. Very few people. Now, last year, I published a book called The 8 Limbs of Yoga for Modern Times, a practical guide to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And that philosophy, yoga philosophy, the philosophy of self-realization, takes you very close to the point at which you can love yourself it still falls short, but it takes you very close. So I am talking about the self-love journey, the unconditional self-love journey, whereas self-realization is kind of realizing that you can love yourself unconditionally, that you are also source, that you are also a piece of God. So that's how I got here, writing and publishing this beautiful book, this beaut. And I'm really proud of this work because it was birthed out of my love for myself and realizing that I could teach this to others. What I learned through pain and toil and frustration and roadblocks, that I could teach this to others, that others could see, feel, taste, touch, sense the pathway to their own unconditional self-love. And so this is the mission I have embarked upon with the book, the workbook, the online course called Love Me Unconditionally, Self-Love Mastery. It is debuting on the summer solstice, and it will mirror the outline and exercises in the workbook, because I know a lot of people, I wasn't going to do that initially, but a lot of people have issues with being self-motivated. I'm not one of those people, by the way, but most people do have issues with being self-motivated. It's very hard if they don't have a structure. So I decided, why not do a living workbook course? Meaning you have the workbook, but you have videos to back it up and go a little bit deeper and to guide you through it, so that by the end of 8 weeks, you can get to the end of that workbook and really have dug deeply into yourself. Then in the fall, I'm going to be doing live events, an 8-hour workshop on Love Me Unconditionally, and an 8-hour inner child healing workshop, because I found through my own personal development research firsthand that the inner child work, like really doing it, not surface level inner child work, but really, really excavating it, it is essential to loving yourself unconditionally, because we talk about body, mind, emotions, soul, spirit, but we forget for the first 18 years of our lives, there was an infant, there was a toddler, there was a preschooler, there was a school-age child, there was an adolescent who may have been ignored, abused, set aside, cast aside, shamed, criticized. And to make yourself whole and to love yourself unconditionally, you need to gather up all of those small parts of you, those little children of you, and bring them back here. And that's why I'm like, oh, that is going to be essential to your unconditionally loving self journey. So I hope that you are as excited as I am about this. Stay tuned for sure for videos supporting this self-love journey. And I'm excited for you guys to pick up my books. Whether you wait till May 20th or pre-order the author signed copies with me now, either way, it's all good. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. Thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with others who you know could use more self-love for themselves, increase their self-worth, their self-esteem. Thank you so much for your support of my work. The links are below to purchase any of my books. Check out my website with my courses, and I will see you in the next video.